The default FTP server for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5 is VS-FTP, short for the very secure FTP server. It requires just 1 RPM, VS-FTPD, which includes configuration files in the etc/VS-FTPD directory. We'll describe just a very few of the default directives in this file and what they can do. But just because the directive is enabled in that file, it may still not work because of settings in Security Enhanced Linux, or even a firewall that blocks traffic. And we'll discuss that in a companion video. Now on to the configuration file. The anonymous enable directive, that's straightforward. If that's set to yes, anonymous users are allowed to access your FTP server. The local enable equals yes directive allows users in the local password database to log into their home directories on the FTP server. And a companion to that is the write enable directive. Local users who are allowed to log in, if this directive is enabled, can also write to their home directories through the FTP server. If you want anonymous users to upload to your FTP server and have set write enable equals yes, you may also want to set the next two directives, which allows anonymous uploads and also allows anonymous users to create directories on your FTP server. Finally, the chroot list enable directive limits users who log into their regular accounts to their home directories. Otherwise, a cracker who's broken the password for a regular user account can access your system via the FTP server and get to the top-level root directory where he can cause mucho trouble. But if you enable chroot list enable, just remember to include allowed users in the etc/VS-FTPD chroot list file. That's it for the basic configuration file. You should explore the rest of the directives on your own. The more you know about VS-FTP, the more you can handle on the RHCE exam and in a real-life administrative job. There are other files in the etc/VS-FTPD configuration directory. FTP users are a list of users who aren't allowed to log into the local FTP server. If you're comfortable with other FTP servers, you may recognize this file, which serves the same function on FTP servers like WFTPD. If you've set user list underscore deny equals no in the FTP configuration file, you can set up the user list file with a list of allowed users. Of course, whatever you do with the VS-FTP service assumes you've configured a firewall and Security Enhanced Linux settings to conform properly with any options you've selected. And as with other services, this assumes you've properly configured VS-FTPD to boot the next time you boot Linux. And voila! The VS-FTPD service is set to start the next time you boot into run levels 2, 3, 4, or 5. And once you've finished the configuration, including firewalls and SE Linux, check the FTP server, ideally from a remote system. The secure shell is great for this purpose.